your thoughts lead you to a certain mental emotional state. If you interpret an event in a negative term, you become pessimistic, gloomy, sad. If you choose a different set of thoughts, which are a more optimistic interpretation, then it leads you to a different mental emotional state, which is of happiness and peace, serenity, or understanding. Thoughts are like trains or vehicles which we choose to embark upon or not embark upon, or not to board. If you say I'm not talented, it's a belief. But the truth is you are extremely talented. Just get rid of this belief. So your beliefs are very important. So choose your beliefs with lot of care and scrutinize all your beliefs with lot of care. A strongly held wrong belief is bad karma. So it is their bad karma that they believe that they are unfortunate. So unfortunate things keep happening to them, and it further reinforces their karma of thinking they're unfortunate. We develop awareness, and by developing awareness, we start dissolving these deeply held, dysfunctional and wrong beliefs. Belief covers for your lack of knowledge. So when we don't have knowledge, we project beliefs. But when we have real knowledge, all the faulty beliefs dissolve and disappear. So that is why, we should examine our beliefs by cultivating sufficient wisdom. Because more wisdom, more we are able to evaluate our beliefs. It's a good video in any case. Shall we watch the video together?
Yes, sir.
Before I play the video, I'll just share what it is all about. So Bruce Lipton is a very important person that we need to get exposed to, because he did a very path-breaking research, and after which he faced a lot of resistance, and hence he had to quit his mainstream job as a scientific researcher. Okay, and he worked all his life in the area of genes and cells. And what he discovered is so revolutionary that it is something. If the scientific paradigm accepts, then they have to allow spirituality into the scientific discussion, which they don't want to do because of Western interests. It seems like that, or maybe the resistance to these ideas is so strong that they don't want to embrace it so easily. But there is more and more pressure coming upon science, from all sides, and all kinds of research is forcing it to at least unofficially acknowledge the power of these ideas. So in this, what happens is that Bruce Lipton found that normally what they teach in medical school is that it is the DNA which controls the entire system of the human body. Okay, and what Bruce found is that it is the other way around. It is not the DNA which controls everything happening in the body, but it is the environment, and it is the way we interpret the environment using our mind. So our mind and the environment that we face and the way that we interpret that environment is of overwhelming importance when it comes to our genetic structure and what happens inside the body in terms of health or disease. That is his main finding, and this he explains very eloquently and very beautifully. And in this video, we have another person who is basically monk basically, but she is also someone who has a background in psychology. So she is a PhD in psychology, and from a very good university, world-class researcher she was before she joined spirituality. So a very brilliant mind. So these two people will explore ideas related to this discovery of Bruce Lipton, and there are many other videos you'll find on the YouTube where Bruce will be explaining this. I will be sharing some links also later. So let's watch this. This is a particularly very eloquent way in which these people have been able to present what I want you to understand. So let's go. Okay. So I'll start the video now, and just tell me if you can watch it and hear it properly or not. I'm playing it now.
Okay, sir.
So it's a great honor to be able to moderate this esteemed panel of two. And we have an opportunity to explore science.
Can you see and hear the video?
Yes, sir. Very clearly, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Spirituality, the mind, the body, with two people who are at the cutting edge of this work and who have dedicated their lives to understanding this very important subject matter better. So I will do my best to just lead them into topics of conversation that can be the most useful to all of us. So I want to begin with the personal. I have now known Sadhvi Bhagavati Saraswati ji for about, I think, 6 or 7 years. And that relationship is a very important relationship to me. And when relationships are important to me, I do a little digging, and I do a little looking, and I do a little research. And I have done that. And I'm not sure if any of you know that Sadhvi comes from a background of sincere, dedicated study in academia. I had the pleasure of reading her dissertation, which she wrote about Paramarth Niketan and what happens here. An extraordinary dissertation that she wrote as part of her PhD. And I've been privy to hearing her story, and so I know that while we look at Sadhvi today and we see her as a beacon of spirituality, a woman who has immersed herself in seva, in spiritual study and spiritual practice, it's interesting that she also comes from this background in the West of academia, of science, of empirical reality as well. So I wanted to begin with Sadhvi and ask her a little bit if she would be willing to share some of that story in her own life of how she has bridged the world that she came from to where we find her now here on the banks of Maganga.
Thanks for being with us to moderate this conversation. Before answering his question, I also did just want to mention that we will be opening it up to questions from the audience as well. This is not so much a panel discussion as lectures, but rather really a conversation on science and spirituality, and we'll see where it takes us. We're happy for it to take us wherever it takes us. And you're all part of that journey. You're not just voyeurs of the journey. You're not just watching us take a journey, but you're part of the journey. And so we will open it up for sure. And it wasn't for me until I came to India, came traveling with a backpack. I had no idea I was going to stay. I was not on a spiritual path. I wish I were. I would love to say I was, but I wasn't. I didn't know there was a spiritual path to be on because I was in this tightly woven web of Western culture, academia, goal-oriented life of success as it's given to us in that Western definition of the equation for happiness, for joy, for fulfillment, which is a good education, a lot of money, a house in the right area of town, looking the right way and the right brand of clothes, etc., etc. We all know this equation that's given to us. So I wasn't looking for anything. Came to the banks of Ganga, and this is, as a slight but important aside, this is the power of grace. When you get something you've worked really, really, really hard for, on one level you could say, well, yeah, you deserve it. I mean, you've worked. But when you get something that you haven't worked for, when you get something that on no objective level that we're used to using to measure, do you deserve at all? That's grace. So if there's an exam in school, for example, and you study really, 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 really hard, and you do well, you deserved it, you studied. But if at the time of the exam prior to it, your mother or your grandmother or your child or a friend was sick, and so you couldn't study because you spent all your time taking care of the loved one. And then you went into the exam and you still did well. That's grace. And so for me, it was an experience of grace. I was given an experience, given an awakening, given a knowing, given all of that, a state, a place, a being of divinity. And what it made me realize once I got out of the intoxication of it and was actually able to look at anything, when I look at science now, because I still love it, but what I'm now very clear on is science has jurisdiction over things that science knows how to measure. So if it goes in a beaker, if it's got a weight or a volume or an area, if it can be heated up in a crucible on a Bunsen burner, if it can be seen through a telescope or a microscope, science knows what to do with it. And in that arena, science is really great. But if it's anything beyond that
Everything is going nicely, no? Sound and all?
Yeah. Yes, sir. It's going on well, sir.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
arena, science has no idea what to do with it. And because science has no idea what to do with it, it likes to tell us that it doesn't exist. So there's a little bit of ego in the web that it weaves. And this is what I love so much about sitting with my beloved Bruce, because it's this, for me, even just being here, is it's this beautiful dissolving of a web. We're not dissolving science. Science is here. But dissolving this thick web that says science is everything. And actually being able to see beyond that aspect. And the only last point that I would mention quickly is we speak a lot in spirituality about truth. And so, for example, satsang is one of my favorite times of the day. It's something that I do each evening after the arati. And it's in the presence of truth. But as we always explain, it's not the truth that's relative. So it's not the truth of today is March 6th, we're in Rishikesh, because that's only true right here, right now. It's not true for anyone anywhere else in the world right now. It's not going to be true for even us tomorrow. It'll be March 7th. It's not true once you're no longer in Rishikesh. And the truth of which we speak in satsang and in spirituality is this eternal truth, the unchanging truth. And science really likes to claim ownership of an unchanging truth. That what science says is capital T truth. And the problem with that is that its truth is limited again to its tools. And so there was a time not too long ago where truth was that the earth was flat and the world revolved around it. And in your science class, you would have gotten an A for saying, yes, the earth is flat, and yes, the sun and everything revolves around it. And then our tools got better. And then we were able to see, oh, wait, it's not round. I mean, it's not flat, it's actually round. Not because the truth had changed, but because our tools had improved. Oh, wait, we're revolving. And so for me, that intersection of science and spirituality really centers on truth, because I feel that spirituality does have a hold on an eternal capital T truth, whereas science's truth is much more of a lowercase t truth, that it's changing as our tools change, as our tools improve, as the world changes, so does the truth. And that's fine. There's nothing bad with it. It's just not eternal the way that spiritual truth is.
Thank you, Sadhviji. And then we have Bruce Lipton, also from the West, also steeped in academia and science and study, but who interestingly delves, as you now know, deeply into the spiritual discussion. And as I've mentioned before this week, when I've spoken about Bruce, I've said, to me, one of the most important people in our community, because he bridges through his work and his being, he bridges science and spirit. So for a man who came from, again, this very scientific place, what's happened in your life to bring you to this seat right now?
A shock.
A shock.
When I was very young, of course, you listen to older people, adults about life, and there were two different perspectives. There was the spiritual perspective of life, and there was a scientific. What was interesting as a child even, I saw that many spiritual people would talk about the glory of spirit, but then as a child, I could also see, well, they had nice talk, their lives didn't match what they were teaching. And so at some point I started to say that spirituality is not the path, but I saw science. And what was science unique was that a truth in science on this side of the planet is the same truth in science on the other side of the planet. And I started to realize that the understanding of science seemed to be more important than the belief in spirituality. And then, of course, as a kid, Albert Einstein was still alive. And as a kid, when you see Albert Einstein, he's like the most lovable grandfather image you could ever imagine, a joy-filled scientist. So I said, that's where I'm going to go. I spent the next 30, 40 years of my life in deep science. I learned everything just like out of a book. I just read it and it became, yes, that's true. And genes control life and we're just molecules and then we have life and then we die and then the genes and molecules turn back into the dust. And I thought, oh, okay, we just have this one life. And so I had no spirituality. As a matter of fact, I was very proud of my science. And then I started working on cells. And I saw something that was completely different than what was going on with my field of science. In one part of my life, I'm teaching in the medical school, and I'm teaching conventional science. Genes control life, and your fate is determined by your genes. But in my laboratory, I was working with cells, and my research revealed the genes were not controlling the behavior of the cell. The environment was controlling the behavior of the cell. But at this time, all of the scientists around me were genes, and I'm the only one that's looking at a different answer. So most of my colleagues just said, oh, your work is interesting, but it's not very important. But I kept studying the cells. The cells were my guru. They were my teacher. I observed and watched the cells. And when I started to understand how can an environment change genetics, all of a sudden I realized that the information from the environment was being controlled by the cell membrane, the skin. And that information then went into the nucleus and controlled the genes. So I started to look at the nature of the cell membrane. And I saw the mechanism of what are called receptors. Like in our membrane, our skin, we have receptors, eyes, ears, nose, taste, and how we see the environment, and that information controls our biology. In the tissue culture, I saw the same thing. The environment was coming in through receptors, and then the membrane would tell the genes what to do. Well, I was so excited by this, and I remember typing on the computer my insights and talking to the computer about, oh, this is how life is controlled. And then I realized as I was typing on the computer that what happens is no two people are the same. And I say, how do I say that biologically? How can I say no two people are the same? The answer is simple. You cannot take your cells and your organ and put it into another person's body because the immune system says self. And if you put somebody else's cells in your body, the immune system says not self. And the immune system will eliminate it. So I said, wow, no two people are the same. Where's the difference? And then I realized on the surface of our cells, there are special receptors, antennas. and no two people have the same set of antennas. I say, yeah, but what are the receptors reading? I say, they're reading environmental signal. I said, then no two people are reading the exact same environmental signal. And I started to realize, but wait, our identity are these antennas. And so science says, oh, the identity is physical antennas. And I go, no. The antennas receive a signal. I said, you're focusing on the mechanical receptor. You're not focusing on where the signal is coming from. And then in this moment of blinding flash, I realized, oh my goodness, all of us are each receiving a special environmental signal. But the most important and exciting part was our identity coming through the receptors is not in here. Our identity is coming in from outside. And all of a sudden I said, but if my identity is on the outside, then my body is not the identity. It's picking up a signal. And in physics, we call it the field. And I say, oh, each of us is recording our own environmental field. But then a life transformation in 1 minute. I was not spiritual 40 some years. And in 1 minute, I became fully spiritual. How? Because I realized we're not in here. We are playing our spirit through this. So I refer to it like the body is a television set. And my television set is playing the Bruce show for you. And I say, but where does the Bruce show come from? I say, it's the broadcast. And I say, oh. And at that instant, I realize if you're watching a television and the television breaks, we say, television is dead. I go, is the broadcast still there? I say, yes, the broadcast is there. You get another TV, you plug it in and turn it on, and the show is back on. And all of a sudden I said, I cannot die. I cannot die because I'm the television set. The broadcast is forever. And I started to realize, my goodness, because if my body dies, a new TV in the future from another parent will show up with the same antennas, but a different body. It doesn't have to be male or female. It could be white, black, yellow, red. These are television sets. We are the broadcast. And I realized at that moment, I cannot die because I'm not in here. And at that moment, I have to tell you the truth. 40 years, my work was coming from my head, my brain. And in that 1 minute, when I saw, oh my God, I'm out here, I'm a field, I'm an energy, I'm a spirit. All of a sudden, my heart started to ache, not with pain. My heart started to ache with the most overriding joy I've ever experienced in my life. The tears were coming down my face, and it was like, and my whole life changed. Why? Because if you eliminate the concept of death, there is nothing to fear on this planet. And I lost the fear of death. And I also started to recognize, oh my God, I am this energy. And then my science brain said, why have a spirit and a body? Why not just be the spirit? And that's when I found out I had Jewish cells. How did I know? Because I asked a question. Why have both? And 50 trillion funny cells come up with a question they asked me. I asked them a question. The cells asked me a question. The cell said, Bruce, if you're just a spirit, what does chocolate taste like? And then I realized the body is an extension of the spirit. The body gives us an opportunity to experience life. What does a sunset look like? What does music sound like? What does wonderful food taste like? And I say, that's from the body. And that body sends that information back to my spirit. But then I also recognize, but my spirit is driving my body and creating. And then I started to laugh because I said, everyone thinks we die and we go to heaven where you can create whatever heaven is for you. And I realized, oh my God, we are born into heaven. This is where you came to create. And the problem is that why can't our creations always match our wishes and our desires? Because between our spirit and our body is a mind. And that mind gets programmed by teachers. And if the teachers don't give you the absolute truth, your body is not running from truth, it is running from program. And I started to realize, oh my goodness, all my biology friends were talking about genes, and all of a sudden I walk in and say, spirit. And they looked at me like, what, are you crazy? So I walked out of the university. I said, I cannot go back into that classroom and tell people they are victims of their genes, because we are not victims, we are masters. The only problem is if you don't have a good program, what you create is not beautiful. What you create is disease, problems, war. I go, this is from other people's beliefs. When you get your own belief and you let go of the program, you start to walk with spirit. And when I started to walk with spirit, I walked to Rishikesh.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bruce. One of the questions that students of yoga often have is, what is this interplay between the brain, this physical signal emitting thing, and the mind? How do we control one or the other? Can we control one or the other? And what is the interplay between the two? I'd love to hear from Sadhvi first on this. It's just a small topic, Sadhvi.
It's a great topic, though, and there's so many ways in to the topic. Because ultimately, the question that you've asked is, how do I create my life? I mean, Bruce is talking about creating our life. So much of that which we hear, whether from spiritual leaders or motivational speakers or yoga teachers and everyone in between, speaks about creating our life, creating our reality. And yet, what are the tools we have to create? I mean, if I'm going to build a physical structure, we have bricks, we have cement, we have wood, we have whatever we need. Well, if I'm going to build joy, peace, love, what are the building blocks? Now, of course, the first piece of it is that's the truth of who we are. So the good news is you don't actually have to build from the ground up. We just have to remove that which is blocking us from living as that. But again, what are the tools for that? It's easy to say, we can speak about it, but what are the tools? And really the tools are our mind, our thoughts. Whether we're doing yoga postures, whether we're doing meditation, whether we're chanting affirmations or mantras, whatever we're doing, it's the mind that's telling us to do it. The mind is the one that says, go to yoga class instead of go to the bar. The mind is the one that as we're doing the yoga postures either keeps us focused there or says, oh my God, this is so stupid, I could be eating pizza and watching a movie right now, or anything in between. It's the mind that chants the mantras. It's the mind that notices when my mind is no longer chanting my mantras, and as Puja Swamiji says, has gone to Paris without a ticket or a visa. It's my mind that brings it back. So the mind is actually our greatest tool. It's almost our only tool in this. But the brain is really what we have tangibly. I mean, working with the mind is very abstract. And I come from a background not just in academia, but in psychology. And it's very abstract. The brain, and this for me is what I love about it, is the brain, I think, is the medium through which we experience consciousness and the mind. So the brain is not the mind. We know, for example, as Bruce spoke so beautifully, one TV set is broken, we get a new TV set. So life after life, when we reincarnate, along with the soul, something called the subtle body travels. I won't go into too much of that here, but an aspect of the subtle body is mind. So the brain is finished. Those neurons are no longer sending electrical signals down the axon. Brain is dead, literally. It's buried, it's cremated, whatever your tradition may be. So the brain is not the mind, and yet, for all practical purposes, in our practice, in our yoga, in our sadhana, in our intentions, the brain is the vehicle through which, the medium through which we experience the mind. So for example, Bruce exists. We know Bruce exists. But how do I know Bruce exists? Well, I have 5 ways of knowing he exists. I have my eyes, I have my ears, I have my touch, I have my smell, I have my taste. If I close my eyes and Bruce is not speaking, and presumably he doesn't have on any strong cologne or something that my sense of smell picks up, and I'm not touching him at this moment, or licking him at this moment to taste him, right? So I'm not able to use any of my senses. For me, Bruce might as well not exist. There is no interaction between Bruce's existence and my experience if I'm not able to experience him through my 5 senses. Now, of course, that doesn't change Bruce's existence. He's still here. You could all see him. Your eyes are open. But for my life, if I'm going to be impacted by, taught by Bruce, whether by the words he speaks, by the presence of his being, by his love, by his energy, well, I have to have some way of interacting with it. And our physical brain is our way, I believe, of interacting with consciousness. It is our way of interacting with the mind. Now, what we know, and this is the stuff I really love about neurology, is that you can actually go into the brain because it doesn't have any pain sensors. And so if for some reason someone has to have a brain operation for some other reason, so the scalp is open, they actually can go in with metal probes and they can stimulate different areas of the brain, and they can make you very happy. They can make you giggly. They can make you very sad. They can make you angry. They can make you sexually aroused. They can pretty much create all of that which we usually term emotion, feelings. And the reason that for me this is so deep is most of us identify as those so deeply. I am my anger. I am angry. Yes, I would be able to live a spiritual life, except I am angry. The thing blocking me from spirituality is my pain, is my memories, is my emotions. Well, the truth is, those exist in very physical, tangible, electrical, chemical reactions in the brain that can be either stimulated or numbed. Anybody who's ever taken chemical assistance, anything ranging from drugs or alcohol to any kind of pharmaceuticals that change your brain chemistry, knows it impacts what we think. It impacts how we interact with the world. Well, it's not impacting our etheric spirit mind, as Bruce spoke about out here. It's playing on the electrical chemical patterns in my tangible brain. And this is where that which we do for our brain, whether it's nutrition, whether it's yoga, whether it's 100 other things we may do, deep breathing, bringing oxygen. I mean, forget the spiritual benefits of it. That which we do for our brain changes our mind. It changes our experience of our consciousness. And that's very exciting. The other last piece for me that's exciting is because we know it can be stimulated, it loses a little bit of its power over us. If you know that someone can stick a metal probe in your brain and make you angry, it's hard to really identify as that anger. If you know that a pill or a liquid changes that anger for you, well, it's hard to identify as I am that anger. Now, obviously, the goal is to work with it non-chemically, but if you've ever used the chemicals and had that experience, you at least know it's not me. Because look, there I was, but I thought differently. I felt differently. And what it reminds us is I'm not my emotions. I'm not my thoughts. They're taking place due to patterns, due to what I eat, the food I eat, the air I breathe, the chemicals I'm ingesting, purposely or not purposely, due to the energy I'm picking up in the world around us. And so that gives us a lot of freedom. And the freedom there is our thoughts are tickets. They are not who you are. I like to think of them as tickets. If you walked into an airport or a train station or a bus station and you said, I'd like a ticket, the first thing they would say to you is, where to, ma'am? Where to, sir? Or if you said, just give me a first class ticket, best ticket you've got, fastest vehicle, give it to me now. As much as they tried to help you, again, they would have to say, where to? Every thought we have takes us to a destination. Some of them take us to a destination of peace, of joy, of gratitude, of meaning, of fulfillment. Some of them take us to destinations of misery, of hopelessness, of worthlessness. But we jump on them because they're the train that's passing by without ever wondering where they're going. I mean, if I said to Bruce, guess what? I've got you booked on this wonderful bus this afternoon. Come, come, come. Well, hopefully he would say to me, and where are we going? Bus sounds great, train sounds great, and where are you taking me? And unless I could tell him that I was taking him someplace he wanted to go, no matter how comfortable or great or decorated or fancy the compartment might be, he wouldn't jump on. And so when we have thoughts, when you have stuff of the mind, fluctuations of the mind, before we jump on them, when we recognize this is just a chemical and electrical pattern, before you jump on it, ask yourself, is this the destination I want to go? And if not, get yourself a different ticket. Because that's the power we have to create that world.
Thank you so much, Sadhvi. So, Bruce, I like the way you think. I like the way you think. What am I saying? What does that mean? I like the way you think. I mean it. What am I actually saying?
And I want to say that everything that Sadhviji said, I don't want to repeat it because I would say exactly the same thing she said. So I'm going to just make an addition to the thinking part. Mind, brain, body. Before I even go to that level, let me just tell you, because I work with cells my whole life. The most primitive organism on the planet are bacteria and cells like amoeba. Everyone knows amoeba. I go, an amoeba has all of the functions that you have. An amoeba has a respiration, digestion, nervous system, reproduction system. An amoeba even has an immune system. So single cells are like miniature people. And in the world of an amoeba, the amoeba has to live in the world. It has to read what's going on. Is this a good place to go? Is there food here, or is there something scary? So the amoeba doesn't bounce. It moves in the direction to give life. So it has to read the environment and adjust the biology. Now, everyone thinks, well, cells, how can a cell be so smart? You know, they're so small. Everything less than human is less smart. And I go, stop. Cells created us. We were made by the intelligence of cells. And so when you look at your body and you say, oh, I am Bruce one thing, and I go, that is an illusion. Every one of us is made out of about 50 trillion cells. A human body is a community of cells. And I said, well, when they live in a community, where should the community go? Well, here's the issue. Let's talk about a liver cell in your body right now. If the cells are going to adjust to the environment, what environment does your liver cell see? Does it see where we're sitting right here? No, it's inside. How does it know what's going on? The community of cells create the nervous system. The nervous system is to read the big environment and then send the signals to the cells to tell them what to do. So the reality is your cells do not see the real environment we're living in. They see your interpretation, your thought about that environment. Is this a safe environment? Then 50 trillion cells say, good, I'm very happy, I'm in a very safe environment. But if you have a picture of fear, then you're sending a signal to the cells to get ready for protection and get ready for fight or flight. So the function of the mind, brain, body in the other level than what Sadhviji has just said is, how do I coordinate the community of my cells? Should my cells be healthy? Should they be afraid? Should they be in love? Why? Because their expression is our expression. So if I send them messages of fear and concern, then they are like inside getting very nervous about what to do. And fear and love are the opposite behaviors in a cell. Love, open, take in the love and bring it, grow. Love is a nutrient. Fear, shut down, close off, get in protection. And I say, well, you can't be in love and in fear at the same time, because love is open and fear is closed. So our mind, brain, body relationship, in addition to all the wonderful spiritual aspects that Sadhviji is talking about, has a mechanical role. What should my cells be doing? They cannot see what's going on, but they're going to have to move the community from here to there. And so they need to organize their behavior to make my behavior. So all of a sudden, your thoughts are not just contained in your head. Your thoughts are changed by the brain into information that then goes to 50 trillion cells and tells them what's going on. And the problem in our world today is fear. Will I have enough? Will I have food? Will I have health care? Am I safe in my world? And I say, this closes the cells down, because Fear means protect yourself. But you cannot live in a closed world. You have to take in nutrients. You have to take in love. You have to take in these things. And so the biggest problem on the planet today, 90% of health issues are not because there's anything physically wrong. It's because the signals that we are sending to the cells are not supporting growth, happiness, and health. And all of a sudden it says, oh my goodness, then the mind and the brain are profoundly important because they determine everything below your head, what's going to happen. And when you live in the world of watching the news, being on the internet, reading a paper, and everyone wants to tell you, be afraid, be afraid, be afraid, that is what has caused the healthcare crisis on this planet. And when you can let go of those messages, then you can send messages of love, health, and harmony. And I know this in my own life, because as I said, once I started to recognize, why should I be afraid? I'm creating. If I'm going to create, then why would I create their story? I want to create my story. And that means we have to have control over the mind. Control over the mind? Here you are. Yoga is control over your mind. Don't let your mind run away with other people's stories. You have to create your own. We have to let go of the belief that other people tell us this is a scary world, a threatening world. It is only scary when we believe it is scary. You change your belief, you change your life. And when you're here, you say, how do I change my belief? The first thing is control the mind, because the mind is sending the signals to the body, and that controls our genes. So there is no cancer gene. There is absolutely not one gene that causes cancer. Cancer is an expression of anger and fear. If you lose the anger and you lose the fear, you are free to be healthy. And if you haven't heard or read the book by my dear friend, our dear friend, Anita Moorjani, her book is called Dying to Be Me. She had 4 years of cancer. In her last week, her body let go of the control. They put her on machines to breathe and to circulate her blood, and she was on a machine. And on the end of that week, she was so thin, the cancer lumps were sticking out of her body. And she went into a coma, unconscious. And the doctor called the family and said, the oncologist said, this is the last stage. She's about to die, so come to the hospital. In that coma, Anita had an out-of-body experience. She left the body. She took her consciousness back to the source. And she resolved the anger and the fear that she had because of her family issues. Her father, she thought she had lost the love of her father. And when she saw her father in that realm, that spiritual realm, he said, no, you're always my love, and all that. And then there was an interesting moment, as people have out of body. She was given a choice. Do you want to stay here, or do you want to go back to your body? Well, where she was beautiful and heavenly and peaceful, and it's the most wonderful experience she had after 4 years of cancer. It was like, but she saw her husband, Danny. She saw her crumpled up body, and that he was holding her hand. And she said, if I don't go back, Danny will get sick. And she said, I will go back into that body. But you know what the most exciting thing was? The issues that caused the cancer were spiritual conscious issues. And when she resolved that and she came back in the body and woke up, she came back to full life. The machines were no longer necessary. She was living on her own. And within a few days, the lumps of cancer disappeared. Within 3 weeks, the doctors were saying, where's the cancer? And they were kept looking in her body to find the cancer. And Anita says, I do not have cancer anymore. And all of a sudden, at some point, they realized there was no cancer in her body. Why I bring her up? She's what I call the poster child of biology of belief. Here's a person on her last day of life, changed her mind, And the moment she changed her mind, her biology, her health came right back to full health. There was no cancer left in her body. The doctors were like, there's gotta be cancer. And she said, there is no cancer in my body anymore. And to me, please understand, I don't care how sick you are. If you can go to the last day and be on a machine and have no life left in you and then change your mind, you can come back in full health in that one experience. So your mind is controlling this biology. And when you take back your mind, your love, let go of the fear, you are the master of this wonderful machine, the human body. Understanding the machine, understanding. Again, I leave to the same conclusion. Understanding the machine and understanding how to control the machine. One word, yoga. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As I said, I like how you think, Bruce. The connection between the breath and mind. So we conclude here together that the mind is the issue.
So what do you make of this, conversation or presentation so far, Saju?
Sir, I was just noting down certain points whichever I felt so impressive.
Yeah.
Am I audible to you, sir?
Yes.
Okay. The first, I could not have understood the whole conversation if you had not given that introductory statement, sir. What actually they mean to say. That it is not the DNA which controls the body or the mind, whereas it is the environment which has an influence over this DNA. So the starting point somewhere they mentioned that science and spirituality, unfortunately these days, we are taking them as a contradictory concepts. Rather, we should be intertwining those two concepts in such a way that we can understand the reality in a much beautiful manner. So that I felt very catchy statement. And many other statements are brain is the medium through which you can experience your mind. It is your mind that goes to the somewhere he was saying that it is your mind that goes to the gym, that goes to the bar. Your body, you are believing that your body is enjoying, but it is the mind which is doing all these things for you. And another statement, a great statement by that person, sir. No need of fear of death, because I am not this body. I shall keep on incarnating to this world. So there is no need of death. If I understand that I have very enormous connection with the ultimate reality of the world, the superpower or the God, then I will never be afraid of death. That statement was really conscious speaking one, because it was absolutely a novel idea. I personally believe that I am afraid of death very much. So, and I have seen people, even my grandmother, grandparents, I have seen that they are really people who are running their 70s and 80s. They are still afraid of death. So this person is saying there is no need of fear of death. And at this, in some other point, he's saying death, fear is closed and love is open. So that was yet another eye-opening statement. And another statement, sir, it is foolish to wait to reach to heaven. You have, please try to understand that you have already come to heaven. So that was again.
We are making the heaven into hell.
Sure, we are making the heaven into hell. He's saying, oh, my dear, you have already come to heaven. Please understand this. And other things are every thought of us takes us to a certain destination. That was really means a person like me who is not really not that much spiritual, and who is whose concentrating power is not that high, and keeps on coming thousands of contradictory facts into mind. So this statement is very touchy. Every thought take us to a certain destination. So thought has that much powerful impact on our personality. That again was
what she meant was that your thoughts lead you to a certain mental emotional state.
Sure.
If you interpret an event in a negative term, you become pessimistic, gloomy, sad.
Sure.
or bitter, right?
Sure.
So that way, so you can choose your thoughts carefully if you understand this.
Huh.
In a way, each thought is like a bus or a train on which, if you choose to sit, let's say a negative train of thoughts,
Sir.
are entering your mind when you see something or when you are exposed to something or some event happens. Then if you sit on that train of thoughts, that train of thoughts will lead you to sadness or
Sadness.
bitterness or a feeling of pessimism or being unfortunate.
Sure.
Right. But if you choose a different set of thoughts which are like more positive and which are more optimistic interpretation, then it leads you to a different mental emotional state which is of happiness and peace, serenity, or understanding.
Sure.
So that is what she meant. The thoughts are like trains or vehicles which we choose to embark upon or not embark upon, or not to board. It's like boarding a bus, no?
Boarding process.
Yeah.
Sure.
So most of us are that is a very powerful learning from the conversation so far. It's a long video. I'll not show the remaining part. You can see on your own. I'm not saying that what they say after this is not very useful, but this was the most relevant part on which I wanted to talk about. So, I know it's being recorded. Students may see it later also, and others may also see it later. So I'll explain, why I chose this video out of, many dozens of videos that Bruce Lipton videos are very popular on the internet. He's a very famous personality, and he deserves a Nobel Prize. The only reason they're not giving him is because it's political in nature. You know what I'm saying? So what he has done is so revolutionary that he will be remembered forever and forever.
Sure.
Maybe science will pay him respect posthumously after his death. 30, 40 years later, he may be given posthumous Nobel Prize. But what he has done is so breathtaking and so exciting and so tremendous that it is amazing. I mean, it's cataclysmic shift in the way, people, those who have some sense in their head and who are not political in nature, they understand the body. He has revolutionized the understanding of the human body. Okay. And what you will hear from the popular media, from the dominant scientific journals, is that it is the genes, the DNA, which controls the body.
Body. Okay.
So they are trying to find, if you see research, which is always getting highlighted in different newspapers from time to time, they are trying to discover the genes for cancer or a genes for blood cancer or a certain gene for Alzheimer's or Parkinson or this or that. A gene for mental retardation, a gene for autism, a gene for whatever. So in that paradigm, they already have decided that it is gene which is causing the illness, or it is gene which is causing the physical, event in the body. That is what the dominant paradigm is. Okay. There are other videos where Bruce explains very powerfully the existing paradigm before he and some other scientists came on the scene. And how these later scientists, how they have revolutionized the understanding, by presenting the correct facts. But that is for some reason not taught in medical schools. So most doctors are brainwashed into believing that, I'm talking about doctors actually, are brainwashed into believing that it is genes which cause illness. Or it is genes which cause health. It is genes which cause longevity.
Sure.
It is genes which cause disease, everything. So it is the genes, especially the DNA. No, DNA is what influences the production of mRNA, and mRNA basically is nothing but something inside the cell which is able to create copies of the DNA. So DNA is like the master file, and the mRNA gets access to the master file and reproduces the DNA, like a photocopy. You can take as many photocopies as you like. And then that photocopy material goes and does the needful inside the different cells of the body, be it healing a sickness or be it whatever, or be it producing some nutrient that the body needs. That is the job of the mRNA, and the mRNA delves into or dives into the DNA, which is the stock of intelligence inside you. And there are many types of DNA inside the body, which provide the intelligence which supports the body till its death. Okay. That is the dominant paradigm which was dominating the scene before these people came on the scene, Bruce being one of the most famous ones. And what these people discovered is that it's not true. That is not true. It is the brain which is controlling the body and not the DNA. And brain is interpreting the environment. that the body is exposed to. So if you, I'm trying to decode his talk. When he says, no, you are composed of 50 trillion cells. No, the body is composed of 50 trillion cells. And each cell behaves like a person. Each cell has a life of its own, has a nucleus of its own, has a nervous system of its own. Each cell wants to preserve itself, to replicate itself, reproduce itself. Each cell has a nutrition process, circulation process. Everything that a human body has, the cell also has. He gave the example amoeba, bacteria, and a cell. Amoeba, bacteria are single cellular organisms, and so is our cell. So amoeba, cell, and bacteria, they are all single cellular. Our cell is one cell. So is amoeba, so is bacteria. All these three display all the properties of the human body. They are like, a microcosmic unit of life. We are a more macrocosmic unit of life. So 50 trillion such cells compose our body. Now these 50 trillion cells are organized into different structures. Like a liver cell is not the same as a kidney cell, and a kidney cell is not the same as pancreas cell, and a pancreas cell is not the same as the brain cell. So these 50 trillion cells are organized into different types of cells to become different organs, to become different structures inside the body. But what he's trying to say, our body is nothing but an immensely vast community of 50 trillion cells organized into different structures, and there's a communication flow between these different organ systems, without which the body cannot function coherently. No, the food that we eat is digested, by using, millions and millions of different types of metabolic reactions in different parts of the body before it can become energy for our, subsistence. So that is what he's trying to say. But then the idea is that these 50 trillion cells, liver cells, kidney cells, pancreas cells, etc., they have no way to interpret the outer environment. Because that is not their job, that is not their capacity. They have nothing in them which can enable them to see the outside reality. My liver cell or kidney cell cannot understand the outside reality. That is in Chennai or Coimbatore or in Kochi or in Delhi. They have no way to understand that, or a cold climate or hot climate or whatever it is. So it is the brain cells, or it is a hostile environment or friendly environment. It is the brain which is the organ developed by the community of 50 trillion cells, which has been assigned the responsibility of interpreting the outside reality by the community of 50 trillion cells. So in a way, the brain is the captain, the leader, the main input provider about the outside reality. See, all these cells want to live.
Sir, that means even I think let us imagine the external environment is common to me and you. But isn't it mandatory that the way how your brain is interpreting the environment is the same as mine?
That I'll come to that. That's the next part of the lecture. Let us understand the first part, where he's telling about this community and relation between this community of cells and our brain and us, and the brain and the mind and all that. So I'm trying to decode that. I'm trying to unpack the video so far. So since every cell is a unit of life, it wants to live forever, doesn't want to die. So for their life, these 50 trillion cells depend upon the correct inputs being given by the brain. No, for their safety, the brain has to give them the correct type of input for their safety and their health and their well-being. I'm talking about the well-being of the cells.
Sure.
If all the cells are enjoying well-being, we also enjoy well-being, because we enjoy a beautiful body, very healthy body.
Okay.
Very disease-free body, long life, right? So these 50 trillion cells have created a nervous system to interpret the outer environment. Whether it is good or bad, it is safe or not safe, and to take the body in a safe environment and move it away from unsafe environment. Why? Because that way the body can live. And if the body lives, the cells can live. If the body is healthy, the cells are healthy, and vice versa. If the cells live, the body lives, cells are healthy, the body is healthy, and vice versa.
Sure.
So that is the relationship. And that is why the nervous system was developed for the human being. So that the brain takes good decisions. For example, if I take filthy food, my liver cells, my stomach cells will get affected. But to take good food or filthy food is not a choice made by the liver cell or the stomach cell. It is a choice made by the brain. So if the brain is functioning intelligently, we will eat healthy food and we will sustain health. But if the brain makes poor choices, we will eat filthy food and we will suffer ill health. And the liver cells and stomach cells also will suffer along with us. And their suffering will make us suffer because we will suffer from illness. So the idea is that the brain's role is the most important one. Right. But then coming to this next part, if this is true, then he has understood the reality. It is the brain which is controlling everything. Right. But then the point is, if the reality ends at the level of the brain, then how come two different people with the same human brain, same structure, anatomical structure, is interpreting the same environment in two different ways, as you asked correctly? That is not what is the case. In the same college, someone says wonderful college, someone says a bad college. Or the same food, someone says very good food and someone says very bad food. The idea is that two people's brains do not function in the same way. So even brain is not the last level of explanation. There's something beyond the brain. Now this proves that brain is not the mind. Brain is only an organ. Because if brain were the mind, then two different brains, human brains, will interpret reality in the same way. Because objective data will be the same.
Sure.
So subjectivity is involved. Two people are interpreting with their similar brain, human brain, they're interpreting the same environment in two different ways. Which shows that it can't be the brain which is making the judgment. That is where the mind comes into picture. So it is very obvious that it is the mind which is making the judgment using the brain.
Okay.
And
Using the
mind is the intangible factor here, not visible to the naked eye, but it can be inferred from this example. Because brain being a physical structure and two brains being same or similar anatomically, because they are two human brains, how can two different brains interpret the same reality in two different ways? It is not possible because brains are physical structures. So by definition, physical structures being objective in nature will interpret reality in objective manner.
Sure.
See, if I see the same bacteria culture with one microscope of the same level of magnification and then change the microscope with another microscope, will I not see the same picture?
Yes, exactly the same.
If I take Saju's photo with one camera with a certain level of resolution and then with the second camera with the same level of resolution, I will get the same Saju, no?
Sure.
Similarly, the brain is like a camera or like the microscope in these examples. If the brain were the determining factor, two different brains will interpret the reality in the same way because both are two human brains, anatomically the same. That is what Bruce's aha moment was, which brought tears to his eyes and changed his whole life. It hit him with a blinding flash, this what I just explained to you. That brain is not the deciding factor. DNA is not the deciding factor. Physicality is not the deciding factor. In fact, the body and the brain is like a television set on which the program is playing. But the program called the mind is coming from somewhere else, which the brain is only capturing. The signals which the brain receives are not only coming from the environment, which is the outer input, they are also coming from somewhere else, which is the inner input or spiritual input.
Sure.
Or what he called the field. In quantum physics, they call it the field. So all of us are plugged into the field, into the quantum field. From that quantum field, now they call it quantum field, we call it God.
Okay.
Or Akashic records or whatever. Right? So idea is that from the same quantum field, different brains are getting different types of broadcast. what I call the mind, what he called the mind. So mind is the broadcast from the field, and the brain is the television which receives the broadcast and then plays it out through the physical structure called the brain. And then those signals from the brain go to the different organs, different parts of the body, different cells, and then they behave accordingly. So the master is the mind, not the brain, not the cells, not the DNA, nothing physical in nature. That is what he understood in a single flash of intuitive insight. And he started crying and weeping because he felt his heart aching with joy because he realized death is illusion. I can't die. No one can die. The body dies, the television set goes dead, but the Doordarshan or the GTV from where the program is coming is not dead. That was the aha moment. So there is no fear. So when this television set dies, I can get a new television set from a new parent. So suddenly the reincarnation theory, he proved to himself through scientific intuition. How beautiful is that? So, as some great teachers, spiritual teachers say that whether you approach life through spirituality or through science or through sports or through music or through drama, whatever, if you can go deep enough, a time will come when you will realize that actually it is the spirituality which is the underlying basis of everything. The word may be quantum or spirituality or God or whatever. The word doesn't matter. But you will always reach the conclusion that the basis of life is something intangible in nature, something invisible in nature, something mysterious in nature, which the physical apparatus cannot capture. Microscope, telescope, etc. cannot capture. Quantum field cannot be captured by anything. It is simply there. How do scientists know? Through interpretation, through inference. They can't see it directly, but they can infer about it. Isn't it?
Sure.
So that is what he is trying to tell. So idea is that it is the mind which is interpreting the reality of the environment. And that is why when we talk about happiness, a teacher like me or any teacher, of similar disposition like me, starts to teach happiness, they invariably come to the mind as the most important factor. That is why I have told in one session earlier, as is the mind, so is the life. Isn't it? I told one day, as is our mind, so is the life. That is what Bruce Lipton is telling. Now I told it from an intuitive understanding and he is telling it from a scientific understanding. And then he saw that actually in the laboratory, the cells, they respond to the way the brain or the mind interprets reality. So if you interpret reality in a happy manner, you generate happy thoughts all the time, then the cells also start to become healthy. Health starts to improve. This is the mind-body connection or psychosomatic connection. The psychosomatic illnesses come from the psyche.
Okay.
You may have heard such things, right?
Sure.
So that is what he is trying to explain, that it is not the body or the DNA or the brain that controls reality. It is the mind that controls reality.
Okay.
It is the environment that controls reality. Why environment? Because we cannot deny that environment shapes the mind to some extent, to a large extent. From our childhood, he told in one point in the lecture that we are not operating out of truth. Our program is not based upon truth. Our program of the mind is based upon faulty understanding, which has been fed to us by the parents, by the teachers, by society. If you read the wrong kind of books, if you get data from wrong kind of people, you will end up with a distorted view of reality.
Sure.
And once your mind absorbs those ideas, what he calls beliefs, those faulty beliefs start to run the program of the mind. That is why his books, very famous book that he wrote, which made him world famous, is called Biology of Belief. So the biology of the human body depends upon belief system that you have. And what is belief system? Belief system constitutes the mind. So that is why Bruce Lipton says that if you want to have a healthy, happy life, you have to take ownership of your mind and ownership of your beliefs and analyze your beliefs, examine your beliefs and get, freedom from faulty beliefs. So biology of beliefs is very important. Or beliefs are very important. And beliefs are basically those things which are stored in the mind. So mind is very important. And hence, he reached the same conclusion as great spiritual teachers from the past, that mind is the most important factor if we want to be happy and healthy. And as an evidence of what he says, he talked about Anita Moorjani. I will show her video also in one of the next few sessions. It's a remarkable case, Anita Moorjani, again a world famous person now because of her unique experience. The whole world knows about her. Many doctors know about her. She is a very, but then, when you have such cases like that, the modern science dismisses them as, odd sample. Mean plus 6 sigma sample, which cannot represent the population.
Population, sure.
We don't understand, but we can't use it to redefine our paradigm.
At least.
But for someone, like Bruce or someone like us, we can use it as a case study to understand the alternative hypothesis. That mind could be the responsible factor behind the illness. Okay. Now, you can't get a more worse illness than the last stage of most malignant cancer, where the cancer is not in one organ, but has afflicted the whole body from top to bottom. She had tumors everywhere in the body.
Stage 4.
Stage 4, or you can call it stage N. She is about to die.
Okay.
Every part of the body has multiple tumors. What is the hope? What is the hope?
No hope.
Cancerous lumps are protruding out from everywhere in a skeleton-like body. The body is about to collapse. In fact, body died. Body has died. In the clinic, she was declared as dead. In the clinic, hospital. She was clinically dead for many hours. In those many hours, her spirit went to the other dimension and engaged with her father and another, some relative or some friend, and then came back with certain learning, certain spiritual learning at a deep level, which she remembered even after coming back to the body. Right? She had a very lucid experience. And in those experiences at the other level, all her mental, emotional, faulty beliefs, which had produced that cancer, were dissolved in the light of new knowledge. What she understood about life was proven to be false to her because of her greater wisdom in the other dimension. So she came back to the body with that wisdom and remembered that. So it was a new set of beliefs, new set of knowledge. And that healed her cancer completely in 3 weeks. And doctors were shocked, amazed, frustrated, puzzled, mystified. They were insisting upon finding cancer somewhere. How can such extremely advanced and malignant cancer disappear like magic, just like that? She stopped taking their medication. She told, discharge me, I am healthy. But they took 3 weeks to discharge her because they were reluctant. They could not believe that what they're seeing is real. So the data is there, but they're not able to understand because their science tells something else. Cancer is incurable. And that to that stage cancer, where a person has died of cancer. But she proved everyone wrong. She bounced back to life in 21 days. And then she became a messenger of this new message. That it is a belief system which produces illness, not the physical factors which has been taught to us. So Bruce Lipton uses her as a very powerful example of what he has been telling for so many years. So you now understand Bruce Lipton's part of the lecture.
Sure.
Okay. And I will share other links where you can yourself watch Bruce Lipton's other videos. There is 2 hour 30 minutes video on biology of belief itself.
Okay.
There is a book, Biology of Belief, which you can read. There is another talk which Bruce Lipton gave, which is 2 hours 30 minutes long, where he explains everything in a 2 hour 30-minute long lecture, which is viewed by millions of people. Now, for a dense material like this, wisdom-based material like this, to be viewed by millions of people means that has to have a lot of tremendous information. Okay. So, and I feel Bruce Lipton is a very important person to know, and his research is very important to understand for us. If we, why? Because it's a scientific evidence of what we are trying to say, what we are trying to do. Why focus upon the mind?
Sure.
Why is mind so important? Sir, why are we wasting so much time on mind?
Sure.
Because once this is established, mind is important, then we can focus upon the mind more and more and go deeper into it. And mind, as you know, is the most mysterious, and it's like an unfathomable ocean.
Dimension.
We can spend a lifetime going deeper into the mind and becoming more and more refined, more and more refined. There is no end to refinement of consciousness. Now, my understanding of mind is your personal experience of life through this physical apparatus. Each one of us is experiencing life through our physical apparatus called the body. And in this paradigm that I hold personally for myself, brain is a part of the body, isn't it?
Yes.
Brain is a physical thing.
Bilkul.
It is a part of the body. But more often than not, most people confuse brain with the mind,
Sure.
which it is not. If brain were the mind, then why am I wasting my time?
Sure.
Can I change my brain?
No.
Can you change your brain?
No.
Is it possible?
Not possible. And objectivity could have come out.
Not possible. Not possible. Physical brain I can't change. Physical brain you can't change, at least directly. But these days, a new subject has emerged called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity. It's an area of study in neurology. Neurology is a part of biology that studies the nervous system.
Nervous system.
So, in the modern science, in neurology, a very exciting new area has emerged called neuroplasticity. Now, neuroplasticity is a direct scientific evidence which proves Freudian theory of personality wrong. Sigmund Freud's theory of personality, which is studied in theory of personality, says that personality gets frozen in terms of its understanding around age of 6 or 6 to 8. Right? But neuroplasticity is directly telling us that it is not true. The brain can be molded and remolded throughout life because of a phenomenon called neuroplasticity. You can reshape your brain structure also by changing your thoughts, by changing your belief system throughout your lifetime. So your education, how well programmed it is, how efficient it is, whether it is through external intervention or through your own personal volitional desire and efforts to understand life more deeply. No, neuroplasticity ensures that as you go deeper and deeper into life and understand it more and more richly and more beautifully, your brain structure also changes.
Okay.
Your brain structure changes in the sense that not the physical brain structure, but inside the brain, the connections between the neurons,
Okay.
they can change. Ultimately, what is the brain? Brain is what the brain can do, isn't it? As a human being, we're not interested in the brain as a structure. We are interested in the brain as a function. How we are going to use our brain. That is what is the determining factor in terms of our happiness or unhappiness. So the idea is neuroplasticity tells us that for anything that we do with our brain, certain set of neurons are firing all the time. Even when you lift a spoon, no, some neurons fire for you to be able to understand it's a spoon and to be able to take actions with your body to lift the spoon. When you are talking, when you are laughing, when you are seeing a movie, when you are eating, when you are sleeping, when you are doing anything and everything, for every activity, some or other neurons are firing or are activated. That is scientifically proven. Right?
Sure.
And neurons that fire together, they wire together is a very famous statement. So for every skill that you develop, neurons, some neurons of the brain, they fire together in a certain pattern to be able to, for you to be able to perform that skill. If you're playing tennis, for example, you hit a forehand topspin drive. You're learning to play that, let's say, a certain shot. Every time you play that forehand topspin drive, The same set of neurons fire together in the same manner.
Okay.
But as you practice it more and more, these neurons become wired together more and more powerfully, more and more strongly. What is called habit, no? That habit is nothing but a certain set of neurons firing together and wiring together and joining together more and more powerfully.
Muscle
More,
memory.
more powerfully they join, more your skill develops. Then something called myelin. A myelin is a compound which, forms a sheath on these neural connections. It secures the neural connections. It ensures that the skill that you are mastering is not lost easily.
Okay.
So in a way, like, welding machine, like the neurons which are firing together, they are welded together in a certain pattern.
Okay.
So that you don't forget your skill by not playing it for 3 days or 4 days. That is why a skilled player can stop playing for 10 days and still start playing. Very quickly he gets the form. Because the pattern is very much engraved in the structure of the neurons. So there are 100 billion cells in the brain. There are 100 billion brain cells or neurons, and these 100 billion neurons can together produce infinite number of connections. So the potential of the human brain is infinite to learn new skills or new things. There is no limit to the human brain. You can learn anything and everything. If you learn 24 hours every day throughout your life, still you will not be able to use even 20% of your brain. You have so much brain. So this point that people make he is talented or she is talented is a wrong statement. Everyone is very talented, infinitely talented, because each one of us is sitting with a brain with 100 billion cells. None of us are ever going to exhaust the total capacity of the brain. After Einstein's death, they opened up his brain and they found that he had used only 16% of his brain. If Einstein used only 16% of his brain and was so brilliant, you can imagine how much brain are we using. Maybe less than him, right?
Sure.
For sure, I think most of us are using less than him. And we are having so many brain cells. So it's an excuse that we make that we are not talented. Each one of us is equally talented. It is just that we have to put in the effort in the right direction. So again, here belief is very important. If you say I'm not talented, it's a belief.
It is a belief.
But the truth is you are extremely talented. Just get rid of this belief. Or I can't learn this or I can't learn that. It's only a belief. Or I always fail. It's a belief. There is no reason for you to fail because you have got such a tremendously powerful brain. But whether you get to use your brain or not to get to use your brain depends upon your mind, which is a set of beliefs. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Sure, sir.
So your beliefs are very important.
Important.
So choose your beliefs with lot of care and scrutinize all your beliefs with lot of care and see whether you want to hold this belief. This belief, I'm not talented, I'm not beautiful, or I have been unfortunate in my past. Why you bother about the past? Life is happening right now. You have this brain here, human brain, such a powerful brain. Use it now. Why bother about the past? Just because I was unfortunate in my past, does it mean that I will be unfortunate inside, throughout my life? That's only a belief.
Sure. And I feel, sir, somewhere I felt that those people, especially my wife, my very close friend by the name of Mr. Rajesh Verma from Jammu. So both of them, I have personally closely observed them. They always blame this fate. Hey, everything with me will be going to be wrong and nothing is going to happen good with me. And what I have over a period of time, because I have been with a couple of fair amount of years with both of them, I have experienced that the more they tell these things, sir, the more things are going to be true with them. They are saying that nothing is going to be good with us, and I'm feeling, and I myself have started experiencing that life is not fair with them. Maybe the aura which is influenced by their own words, I really do not know. but that is fine.
That is what you can read, or you can give them a book called The Secret by Rhonda Byron. The Secret. You can gift to both of them, your wife and your friend both. Gift this book, the Secret by Rhonda Byron. Rhonda Byrne. This book very beautifully, shows the link between your thoughts and your life events.
Okay.
If you believe very strongly you're unfortunate, unfortunate things keep happening to you.
Sure.
And that is what we call karma, bad karma.
Okay.
Because this series of talks we're having is about karma. So in a way, bad karma is nothing but a bad belief.
Sure.
A strongly held wrong belief is bad karma.
Bad karma. Okay.
So it is their bad karma that they believe that they are unfortunate. So unfortunate things keep happening to them, and it further reinforces their karma of thinking they're unfortunate. And how this has become engraved in their subconscious mind? Maybe they have had unfortunate experiences in the past. And these experiences may even be from the earlier life.
Okay.
They may even be carrying the memory of a past life or a few past lives where they were very unfortunate. Unfortunate things happened to them.
Okay.
So it has become very deeply embedded in the unconscious level of the mind. And that is what is karma. Karma is a deeply held belief at a very unconscious level. You behave in an autopilot manner, like an automaton, under the influence of karma, right? So that is where karma, mind, beliefs, and awareness are related. We develop awareness, and by developing awareness, we start dissolving these deeply held, dysfunctional, and wrong beliefs. There is no reason for you to be more unfortunate than other people. There is no reason, because if you believe that there is a God or something which is kind of, the ultimate dispenser of justice, why that God will be biased against you? There is no reason.
There is no reason.
So you are projecting your personal bias of being very unfortunate onto the God in terms of he being very unjust. For some reason, he hates you.
Yes, sir.
And he gives bad results to you all the time.
Sure. There is a Malayalam actor, sir, by the name of Srinivasan. He is a communist person, but very intellectual, very different way of thought, very down to earth personality. But since he is a communist, he talks against God. So in one of the interviews, the interviewer was asking about God. Then he says, I really do not have any problem with God. The single problem what I have with God is, why did he create this discrimination in human beings? Why didn't he create every human being's good? Why didn't
that is where he is not able to understand, other people like him not able to understand the nature of God and nature of the universe and nature of creation and our role in creation and God's role in creation. See, God's responsibility ended with giving us a very highly creative brain and a very highly productive body and energetic body. And God gave us all the resources in the environment for our food, for our air, for our water, for our health. For every illness that you can have, there are medicines in the nature. Isn't it true?
Sure.
For every need that you have, there are solutions in the nature. Hunger, food is there. Thirst, water is there. Illness, herbs and different medicines are there. Isn't it true?
Sure.
For salvation of your soul, great masters have appeared and given their brilliant teachings. For your mental and emotional well-being, so many great teachers have always appeared on earth and have taught, right? Can't I say that God has influenced this class? So it's not about God being cruel or being unjust. It is we not being able to use the gifts bestowed upon us by God. See, the way it is, God is the ultimate truth, the ultimate super soul or something, right? And we all are his spiritual children. right? Each one of us at our very fundamental level is God itself, Sad. Sad is common to all of us. I have explained it, Sad Chidanand, right?
Satchidananda.
Now God is Sad Chidananda and we are Sad Chidananda. But God's Chid is clean, spotlessly clean, beautiful.
Hmm.
Right? And from him we all have emanated. We are each a drop of God. Right? But we are sent to this world in a body. Right? So that Chid of God becomes Chitta. The sound becomes the sound. Chitta.
Oh.
Now, Chitta is a mind inside the body.
Hmm.
And Chid is mind beyond the body.
Oh, okay.
So God's mind is beyond the body, not contaminated by anything physical in nature.
Ah.
So there is no question of belief in God. God doesn't have belief. God simply knows. You create belief where you don't have knowledge. Isn't it true?
Ah, sure. Sure.
Your belief covers for your lack of knowledge.
Right.
I believe there is a ghost in the room.
Hmm.
Why? Because strange things are happening in this room. And I can't see the reason. So I presume some ghost is there.
Ghost.
But the moment I discover the reasons behind these unfortunate events, I don't need to hypothesize a ghost. I can say X produces A, Y produces B, and Z produces C. Isn't it true?
Sure.
So a belief in a ghost came because I do not have enough knowledge. Isn't it? So what is superstition? Superstition is a belief which is basically trying to pretend to be knowledge. So when we don't have knowledge, we project beliefs. But when we have real knowledge, all the faulty beliefs dissolve and disappear. Isn't it? In the darkness and in a distance, a white sari is fluttering in the wind. I think it's a churel.
Sure.
And when I go near, I see only a sari. So the hypothesis of churel vanishes in the light of knowledge.
In the light of knowledge.
So that is why, we should examine our beliefs by cultivating sufficient wisdom. Because more wisdom, more we are able to evaluate our beliefs in the light of truth. Because what is wisdom? Wisdom is understanding the truth. Truth and wisdom are related. Right? So, Chid becomes Chit, and the Chit expresses itself through the limitations of our memories and experiences and our beliefs and our knowledge. Right? Now, since beliefs are substitutes for knowledge and very poor substitutes for knowledge, why? Because beliefs convince us that we know.
Ah, sure.
People who have a lot of beliefs, they think that they know.
Yeah.
So it is not true that what any great teacher or any good teacher is sharing is repetition. It looks like repetition.
It looks like, but not.
It's the spiral process. In the spiral process, you keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper, and you keep going higher and higher and higher. But spiral looks like a circle when you take a small arc.
Sure.
So it seems like, he's a circle only repeating the same thing. It's not like that. I'm approaching the same thing from different perspectives. Sometimes I'm showing this, sometimes I'm showing that. It's not that it's random. There's a process that is unfolding in front of you. From your own experience, you tell me, isn't your consciousness growing, awareness growing across classes?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Growing, no? So you have to participate in the whole process to get the maximum benefit. But these days, people simply do random sampling and listen 2 minutes here, 3 minutes there, and they don't allow the ideas to sink into the depth. And they think that it's the same thing. Why it is happening? Belief.
Belief.
They believe that they know. And they believe that they have the ability to judge the content in 2 minutes, in 3 minutes.
Sure.
So the basic thing which stops them from learning is, this idea, I think that I know, or I believe that I know. But in reality, I don't know that I don't know.
I don't know that. I don't.
That is the truth of a bad student. He thinks that he knows, but doesn't know that doesn't know. But why he thinks that he knows? He believes that he knows. His belief is that he knows. But if his belief is that he knows, then why can't he give 2.5 hour lecture?
Sure. Because that the same point which I was covering. If after your session, if someone asks me, you tell in 2 hours, I won't be able to extend it beyond 2 minutes.
And if he knows, why is he unhappy? And if he knows, why is he unhappy? Why is he not very happy? Because your nature is Sat is Ananda. Ananda is a part of you. If you have discovered your true self, which you believe that you have, then why are you not filled with Ananda? Right. So the whole world is suffering from this illusion that they are in Ananda, in bliss. Why? Because of excess of entertainment, very easily available. And most people in the middle class earning enough money to take care of their material needs and also have leisure time and to enjoy different types of entertainment available. The beautiful malls available, beautiful theaters, air conditioner in the home, in the office, in the car, good beds to sleep on, enough amount of food available easily off the counter, Swiggy, Zomato, so many facilities, so many apps, so many things for entertainment, the cell phone, laptop, avenues for very easy entertainment, even spirituality, meditation, everything is available. And this creates the illusion of abundance, of pleasure, of happiness, of sufficiency. So it seems like there is no need to go deep. Right. But then what happens? Suddenly something hits, which is difficult to absorb or digest or understand. And then a person starts to search for answers. So it is only then that a person starts to look for answers. Why this happens, why that happens, why that happened, why this happened. Or some people are blessed with this curiosity from their childhood who want to dig into the truth. And such people get drawn into these kinds of sessions or these kinds of courses, etc. So that is why, you can never, influence people in huge quantities, in deep explorations like this. But then that doesn't deter, a good teacher, because we understand it's not that easy. If it were so easy, the world will be very happy and blissful place today. As Bruce was saying, we are born into heaven, but we make it into hell. We will not make heaven into hell. You see, we are suffering from environmental crisis. You just remove all the concrete and let nature take care of, producing trees and plants. How many years it will take for Earth to again, replenish the environment with enough oxygen? In 50 years, the whole Earth will be again green, isn't it? You don't cut the forests, you let them grow, you let the trees grow. Forest will be again replenished, isn't it, in 50 years, 60 years? Amazon forest will be again Amazon forest of old in 60, 70 years. So Earth has infinite ability to heal itself. It is we humans who are disturbing it. So if Earth is created by God, God's intelligence is very evident in the ability of Earth to heal herself. It is a human disturbance in the divine plan which is producing this nightmare right now. Right. So this mind-body connection and connection between mind and happiness is not only important for the personal health of an individual, it's also important for the collective health of the planet. If each mind were to understand these ideas, that it is the mind which creates happiness, it is the mind which creates unhappiness, then the whole planet and its problems can be solved very quickly. See, there are 8 billion people on this planet, let's say 8.5 billion people on this planet. And this planet can produce food which can be eaten comfortably by 10 billion people, let's say. which is the truth actually, even 12 billion people, right? So is food scarcity a real problem or a artificial problem created by human greed? What is the answer?
Of course, it's created out of a human greed.
Earth has capability to feed 12 billion humans, even today.
But distribution, we have created it in a disproportionate manner.
No, so why we have done that? Because we believe in separation of human beings. Each one of us is separate. Not only that, each country on this planet is separate, has an artificial boundary. If you go above the earth sufficient height and you look down, whole earth is one. Distinctions and differentiation between boundaries is illusion. There are no countries in God's creation. God created earth. Humans created countries. If we could have the vision of God with respect to earth, it will seem to be one earth, one human species. And if one earth, one human species, no, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, whole world is my family. So we'll have one world government, one world policy of well-being of all. So where is the question of any poverty? Where is the question of any scarcity? Enough food, enough clothes, enough resources to build houses for all. Right? And why concentration in the cities of huge amounts of population? Because of the same thing, discrimination, differentiation. You can convert the entire earth into a very intelligent ecosystem where now you have both the village and the city living side by side. Not, I mean, the village itself is the city and city itself is the village. Both can be combined in the same place, no? Why can't it be possible? That agriculture industry are both happening in the same place. Can't it be possible? Why can't food be grown inside Bombay? Is there any reason? No reason. We will plan the city in a different way. This village versus city is also artificial creation. I mean, you have to apply your mind to see what I'm saying is right. You have to reimagine the structure of the city, the structure of the village. With digital technology, we can very easily connect the whole globe. There is no problem at all. United Nations can become world government. National governments can become like, a part of a federal structure. We can have a global budget. It's very possible. Just like state budget and central budget is there, we can have national budget and global budget. We can have a global pool of money where every nation is contributing. Like GST, we have similarly. It's very easy to scale up. Very easy to bring legislations where we control the equity disequilibrium. I mean the growing inequity in terms of income between the rich and the poor. It's all possible. It's not like that. And as these ideas grow more and more, rich people by themselves will start voluntarily sharing more and more of their wealth with the poor people. Rich countries can share with the poor. Amma says no, actually the real poverty on earth is poverty of the heart, not poverty of resources. The poverty of love. So if there is enough love in each one's heart, there is no poverty at all. It's an illusion. It's an illusion, no? It's an illusion. Already I have almost talked for 2 hours. I mean, including the video. You see, so how time flies. And I covered a lot. No, not a lot. I mean, in my mind, I have just started. There's so much to discuss. So, but time just flies by. So it's not that it's something superficial or very easy to understand. It's not like that. We have just started the journey, to understand. So I will summarize now quickly what we understood from today's videos and previous few classes is that we are trying to say that it is the mind which is important, not the brain, not the body, not any physical structure. Objective reality is created by the mind. It is true that the environment can influence the mind, but that is a secondary influence. And it is not a necessarily true influence. If we have enough awareness, we can prevent the environment from dominating us. Today, what is happening is that we create an environment which is dysfunctional in nature, sick in nature, and then we become a victim of that environment, like a spider weaving its own web and getting trapped in the same web. Spider spins the web to trap other insects, no? But we are a species which has spun a web and has itself got trapped in that, which is called Maya.
Right.
And we have spun this web upon the basis of poor understanding. And the most important crux of that poor understanding is that happiness is outside. Happiness is to be obtained by acquiring objects from outside and by creating a good, pleasant environment on the materialistic level outside. If I have a good bed and an air-conditioned room, I will get good sleep. But is it true?
No.
Many people toss whole night on air-conditioned, on a very beautiful, sofa or very beautiful bed in air-conditioned rooms, because mind is not air-conditioned. If it was only a good room and air-conditioned room, they will be getting very beautiful sleep. Many people are not able to experience the air coming from the sofa, from the fan or the AC. In very cold, atmosphere of the room also they feel very hot because they're not able to receive that coolness. Many people not able to experience the beauty around them in nature because they lost so much in their thoughts that they're not in touch with the reality outside. There may be peacocks and cuckoos and greenery and mountains and whatnot, but they're not noticing because they're so much trapped in the mind. So actually, the most important assumption which we have made, which is a faulty assumption, is that happiness is in the outer conditions. And science technology got so much importance because these are the tools by which we create the outer environment. But in our pursuit of this perfect environment, and in our pursuit of sufficient amount of material wealth, artha and kama, if we have sufficient wealth, we can satisfy our desires and needs, and that will give happiness. In that kind of faulty belief system, we have gone so far down the line in creating a materialistic heaven that we have overexploited the earth's resources, and that has produced this problem of environmental crisis. Now, it's a very simple question that if all the countries of the world follow the same model of economic expansion for satisfying their need to create a materialistic heaven in Africa, in India, in different parts of the globe, will the environmental crisis become worse or better? Same model they will follow. Raw materials will become finished goods, which will be consumed by the people in their countries. If only 1/3 or half of the world is living like that, and the world has reached this kind of a situation where the economic system is under huge threat. If the entire world were to follow the same model, pollution will only increase. Pressure upon the earth's resources will only increase. So that is not the way. Earth is very clearly telling us that this model of infinite GDP expansion for eternity is not the way. We need to ask the question, why are we pursuing this path? Are we going to become happy by pursuing this path ultimately? Answer is no. Because happiness is not equal to materialistic consumption. Happiness is not to be found in outside environment alone. That does have a role to play. To the extent the environment that we create eliminates poverty, physical poverty, of food, resources, water, house, and basic education and healthcare. If these 5 things are taken care of, there is no reason for unhappiness from the materialistic side. If any person has enough food to eat, a house to live in, good clothes, good medical system, and good education, all the basic needs are met. So there is no reason for unhappiness now. but that will not produce happiness. Happiness will not come from creating anything apart from these 5 things. You can have a AC room, you can have cars, you can have bungalows, you can have whatever you like, but that will not make you happy. Materialistic production system can only bring you out of unhappiness to no scarcity. That much it can do. Science can do that much. But beyond that, it cannot take you towards happiness. Happiness comes from inner growth in the subjective well-being. Happiness is subjective well-being. That's what I'm trying to say. What Bruce was saying, how you interpret the environment. What data you give to the 50 trillion cells. What is called the subconscious mind. What is subconscious mind? Subconscious mind is that only. What message is going to the 50 trillion cells of the body. And based upon that, what we feed, the interpretation, is what creates the subconscious mind, which is the instinctive mind, the automatic mind, right? Which sets our predominant moods and feelings and emotions, what Sadhvi was referring to. We are not our emotions. We are not our thoughts. But the thoughts that get created, they take us to those emotions. And those emotions that we experience set our happiness or unhappiness level. But the thoughts come from where? They come from the mind. And mind comes from where? Mind comes from our experiences and our interpretations. But how can we recreate the mind? Can we change our past? No. Can we change our experiences? No. So how we can recreate our mind? We can recreate our mind by reinterpreting our subjective experiences. We can recreate our mind by basing it upon truth and not upon illusion. So as you gain more and more deep understanding, your beliefs are replaced by your understanding of true principles. Understanding of true principles is scientific understanding in the true sense. Now, in this case, when I say scientific understanding, it is the science of the mind I'm talking about. One person can absolutely enjoy one simple chapati and eat it blissfully. Another person can sit in a 5-star hotel and eat food cooked by the best cook in India and find faults in that. So what is the deciding factor? The food quality or the mind quality? Mind quality. One mind is contented and sees God's bountifulness and God's grace in that simple chapati. He marvels at God's ability to feed him. He can see the connection with the chapati and the sunlight and the soil and the air and the wind and everything, and feel so much gratefulness for eating. It's only a mindset, no? So ultimately it is the mind quality which determines happiness or unhappiness. So you recreate the mind by developing what I call greater awareness and greater wisdom, which brings you in contact with the truth as it is. Okay. And that is what we are trying to do. So the karma is what? Karma is basically anything which distorts this ability to understand the truth. So one way to look at karma is not only this, there are many more things layers to karma, but one way we can interpret karma is anything which comes between me and truth is karma. 1. 2. Karma is anything which forces me to behave in a ignorant manner. Or karma is anything which forces me to react than to respond. See, there are 3 levels of behaving: react, respond, create. To react is to be a foolish person. To respond is to be an intelligent person. To create is to be a divine person. Or to react is to be an animal. To respond is to be human. And to create is to be a god. But in order to come from reaction to responses, we need to dissolve our faulty belief systems. And to go from responses to creating, we need to become one with the divine energy, the divine consciousness. Brahman, what is called enlightenment. So our journey in these sessions is from ignorance, reaction, to knowledge, awareness, understanding, wisdom, response, to enlightenment, creation. Grow your light.
Right.
Animals don't have a light. Humans have little light. Gods have very, very much greater amount of light. And what is karma? Karma is that which prevents me from seeing the light, forces me to react from ignorance. Right? Third way to look at karma. Karma is something which has come and found a house inside me because of my past, when I was not aware.
Yeah.
So my past experiences are forcing me to perpetuate the belief which got engraved into me based upon my past experiences. If I had a series of 5 or 10 unfortunate experiences in succession, I became convinced I am unfortunate, like your wife or your friend. And that is karma. Is that true? No. It was a series of coincidences. Now what happens? The current reality is not able to override the faulty belief system. I got a wonderful husband like Saju. That is not able to override the past belief system. I disregard this data. I become now worried that something wrong will happen to Saju. Beautiful child gets born, something will happen to my daughter or son. And like that. And then what happens? I jinx Saju and I jinx my daughter. And then something bad happens to them. I perpetuate my belief in a more strong manner. I am unfortunate. See? How vicious is this karma? Now, why this belief came into reality? Because strong belief creates reality. Why it should be like that? Is God to blame? No, you are God. In your part of the world, you created this negative reality. How God is to blame? God gave you creativity. You made it into reactivity. Is it God's fault?
No.
Is it God's fault? No. See, what kind of a God will give you a canvas where he has painted everything already? If he has done that already, then you are only a puppet, no? No, he is an intelligent God. He sends you with a blank canvas. You paint your life. So you paint your life through karma or through intelligence. Karma blocks you from using intelligence. Okay. So we have reached so far. So we have today concluded that it is the beliefs which control the biology of the body. And it is the mind which determines how we use the brain.
Right. Sure.
And not the other way around. It is not the biology which produces the illness or wellness. It is the mind which produces the illness or wellness. That is our conclusion. So karma from a perspective of health and physical happiness is basically not a product of the body, but of the mind. So as usual, we again came to the same conclusion that karma is in the mind and not in the body. So what we experience as karma in the body, its genesis is in the karma in the mind. And karma in the mind is nothing but belief in the mind. And belief in the mind is nothing but what you concluded to be true based upon your past experiences. So in a way, your belief is your past. So the choice, now I'll end this here. Your choice is whether you want to live out of the past and react, or you want to live out of the present and respond and create. Whether you are going to use the present moment to develop the capacity to respond more and more and to gain enough purity in your chitta so that the chitta starts to become more and more of chid. Sad chid ananda. Chitta is not going to be able to produce ananda, because chitta is interpretation of reality using faulty information, faulty knowledge of the past.
Belief.
So we are using the present moment to dig deep into the chitta, what Jung calls shadow, and bring out all the dysfunctional beliefs and ideas and superstitions and expose them to light of wisdom and dissolve them one by one, one by one, one by one. And that is my job. I'll help you guys to dissolve your karmas, your beliefs, faulty belief systems, by using multiple teaching methodologies. Slowly, as we go deeper, I'll teach you in meditation also. But right now, I'm trying to round up this area. There are multiple approaches which lead to that place where you can realize that it's important to meditate. It's useful to meditate.
Okay.
So the path is, first Ravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasam. That is, you expose the students a lot of wisdom literature. Let them contemplate. Let them get enough insights so that the mind becomes bright enough to understand what is true and what is not true, so that they can come from at least reacting to responding. And then once they reach that place, to teach them that this is not the end state, this is the beginning state. By responding, you are able to break free from the grip of the environment. You gain enough wealth, you gain enough power, everything in family is good, the workplace is good, no problem of money and all, right? Now you can really go about creating a life which is like heaven for you and for everyone on this planet. We become the illumined, enlightened beings that each one of us is capable of becoming. We fulfill our potential to the fullest. We become like divine entities on this planet. That is my objective as a teacher. Help you in that endeavor. Okay? And in this process, let me tell you, I am also growing. It's a challenge for me also to engage the class in such a way that it keeps going, in a productive manner. I'm very conscious of the fact that people may misinterpret these long classes because they don't watch the whole thing. I'm noticing this. But what I'm also noticing is that, as the video is shared, after a few days, some people watch very long because I have the analytics with me. So the average watch time increases slowly. Later, one or two people come, but they watch the whole video. That is also happening. And that is what encourages me. I'm not going by the quantity, I'm going by the quality. And I also know that consistency is important. As I keep on consistently doing this, slowly people start to become convinced he is for serious. Right. So that is why I request that, at least some of you who find it useful, keep coming and keep these sessions alive. And I believe that by Amma's grace, something beautiful will happen through these sessions.
At our level, I think we are not able to understand the answer at least. I'm not sure that we are able to understand the answer, but at least we are capable of questioning you something. We are able to raise a question. And of course, many a time I ask some question and I may not understand the full answer which you give. But we feel proud that at least we are able to raise a question at this point in time. So I think it will take some time to understand your answer as well.
So one thing which I am doing, as you will notice as I am going along, is that giving them scientific evidence. For example, Bruce Lipton brought the case of Anita Moorjani. I will show Anita Moorjani. This is concrete empirical evidence that these ideas are true.
Sure.
If you dissolve your faulty beliefs, cancer vanishes. How about that? What more proof you want? So at least the more intelligent ones can see that there is something inside this. Beliefs are important. So Bruce Lipton is important because he is a scientist.
Right.
Now he has proved that beliefs affect the DNA, not the other way around.
Not the other way.
Because if DNA affects the belief, that is fate. If beliefs affect the DNA, that is destiny. I can create. Destiny is which I can create. Because it's a destination to which I am going. Now, to which destination I am going depends upon which thoughts I choose. As Savitri told, thoughts are buses,
Yes.
take us destination. So if DNA controls my belief, then I am helpless. I am fated by some evil god. Your communist friend says that, right? But if the belief controls my DNA, then I can control my beliefs. I can change my beliefs. Where is God in the picture? I am my own God.
God.
You see the point? So that is why today's session was very important, because I brought this now into the equation. Not DNA to belief, but belief to DNA. And not illness affecting the mind. It is mind causing the illness. So that I brought today in a nutshell. And then I will give you many links to many other lectures by Bruce Lipton and his interviews. I need not present everything here. You can do your own research, right? Because if intelligent students will go and do the research, it's a very important thing. Father may suffer from cancer, mother may suffer, some brother may suffer, some sister may suffer. So if you know more and more about this, you can bring alternative solutions to them. But if you didn't know anything, you'll go to hospital only and just get chemo only. And ultimately burn up 50 lakh rupees and maybe ultimately end up with death also in the family. I'm not taking anyone's name. I'm simply telling as a general statement. Why not explore life more? Right? Okay, so we'll end there. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
Thanks a lot, sir. Good night, sir.
Okay, good night.